light of dawn crept through the trees, casting pale fingers of gold across the forest floor. It was a quiet morning, one of those mornings where the air feels thick with the possibility of change, yet everything remained still, waiting for the inevitable. Lyra stirred first. She blinked against the dappled sunlight and sat up, her muscles stiff from the night spent beneath the stars. The fire had burned out as a goal, leaving only a faint trace of smoke and the scent of charwood. Haven was already awake, standing at the edge of the clearing, his silhouette sharp against the darkening sky. Ashen, too, was sitting a little further off, his back resting against a tree, eyes closed as if he was listening to the rhythm of the forest. She stood stretching her arms high, then padded quietly over to where the others stood. The silence between them was no longer oppressive. It was a companion now, something they had learned to love with, to share, even during when he felt her approach. His expression was unreadable, but there was something softer about him this morning, like it finally allowed the night's conversation to settle within him. We're not far from Sarah's spine, he said, voice rough but steady. Maybe a day's walk. Lyra nodded, but her thoughts were still lingering on the shore of stone ash and had shown them. She felt its weight, not just in her hands, but in her heart. They had shared so much together, once though promises, dreams, but now it was as if those things had been lost in the winds of time, scattered and forgotten. Or maybe they were buried beneath the ashes, waiting for something to honor them. Ashen opened his eyes then, his gaze fixed on the horizon. He didn't speak immediately. When he did, his voice was low, almost a whisper. I don't know if I'm ready to face the storm. He said more to himself than to anyone else. It feels like going back to a place we're in not welcome. Lyra stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder, her touch gentle but firm. It's not about being welcome, she said. It's about what we find when we get there, what we can make of what's left. He didn't look at her right away, but he didn't pull away either. For a moment, the wind wrestled through the trees, carrying with it the sound of distant water, maybe a stream, maybe a river. It didn't matter. What mattered was the unspoken truth between them. They were all wanted by something, and no matter how far they walked, it would never be enough to outrun it. Even cleared his throat, breaking the silence. We all have something to face, whether it's the spine or the past we carry with us. But we don't have to do it alone. Ashen finally met Lyra's gaze. His as tired but searching would have. I don't know how to be better. How do I start again when everything feels like it already been broken? Lyra considered this for a long moment, her eyes scanning the horizon where the trees thinned out into a wider expanse. She felt the weight of the question, the truth behind it, but she also knew something that Ashen hadn't fully grasped yet. You don't start again, Ashen, she said softly. You pick up what's left, and you make something new from it. You don't need to be better. You just need to be whole. And that's something none of us are alone in. The words hung in the air for a beat, and then, as if to prove her point, even moved to pack up their small camp. He worked quickly, but with purpose, as though every motion was a small act of defiance against the weight of what they had left behind. Lyra watched him for a moment before turning back to Ashen. She reached down, brushing the dirt off the short of stone that he kept. It had been tucked away in the pocket of her pack, but now, as if it were drawn to the morning light, it seemed to glow faintly like it carried within it a promise. We'll face it together, she said, her voice steady in all of it. What's left of the past and whatever lies ahead. Ashen stared at the shard for a long time, as if seeing it for the first time. The edges were jagged, imperfect, but still whole in its own way. Together, he repeated, the work tasting different on his done this time, less like a burden and more like a truth he could hold on to. He even finished gathering their things and turned toward the path. Let's move out. The spine isn't been to wait for us. The journey ahead would not be easy, but as they set out into the forest, side by side, there was a quiet understanding between them. The past might not be something they could ever fully outrun, but it was no longer something they had to face alone. They would walk together with all the broken pieces between them, and whatever they found at Sarah's spine would be one more chapter in their story, one they would write together. And for the first time in a long time, the future felt like it was within reach.